Thank you very much, Alexandre, for coming to talk to us. Let's start with the earnings story then. So you have given some guidance, 4 to 7% medium term. This is organic sales targets, I believe. What is it that's going to push you to the upper end of that range? What is it that's going to drive success on that front for Pernod?
Well, from a top-line growth story, what will drive the higher end of that bracket is having all the planets aligned. So basically seeing a robust US market and seeing a very dynamic Indian and Chinese markets. Over the first half, our Chinese business grew by 28%. Our Indian business grew by 24%. That being said, a few technical factors boosted these top-line growth numbers. But that being said, that's very dynamic. And that's why we believe if all the planets are aligned in terms of the big markets, we're at the higher end.
And do they look aligned on the big markets when we consider the global challenges around trade, in particular trade tensions? You've talked many times on this set about believing in global trade. Do things look aligned enough for you to achieve your targets?
Well, that's why we have a 4 to 7 top-line ambition framework, because the reality is in today's world, you always have one or two markets that are quite volatile. The good thing, it's never the same market. And that's why having a pretty balanced business across the world from a geographical mix point of view is quite helpful.
OK, Matt.
What is... your stock's done really well over the last 5 years. You have an annual gain with reinvested dividends of 14.5%. You're beating out other competitors like Diageo. What do you think Elliott and Paul Singer want to see from you? And what kind of experience do you think Paul Singer has in this business that your family has worked in for half a century?
Listen, I think the real answer is regarding all of our shareholders. I think what our shareholders really like about Pernod Ricard is the consistency in our strategy, and more specifically, our unique dual leadership exposure to both China and India. In both markets, we have a leadership position, a very strong one, with 45% market share in both of these markets. And if I add to that the US market, where we have a good position, and global travel retail, where we also have a leading position, these 4 key markets and exposure to these 4 key markets with our unique portfolio of brands is what our investors like.
So I have to then ask Elliott is very experienced in the activist investing role as well. They want you to cut costs, to overhaul corporate governance. Do you think that those are the right ideas? Will you talk with them about that?
Well, I'm obviously very open to dialogue with our investors, including Elliott, and we've had an open dialogue over the last couple months. But to be fair, governance is something that has been improving over the years, ever since I took over chairmanship of Pernod Ricard, and which will keep on improving. Governance improvement is actually an endless process, to be fair, because opportunities evolve, challenges evolve. So governance will keep on evolving over time. And as for margin improvement, it's fair to say that the last 3 years of Pernod Ricard's equity story were driven by investment to generate top-line growth, which is now at the top end of industry growth. And the next 3 years will all be about profitable growth. So good top-line momentum, while at the same time driving operating margin. And we mentioned 50 to 60 basis points of operating margin per annum.
Alexandre, how would you characterize the arrival of this new shareholder and this activist style in your business? You're the third member of your family to run this company. I've seen it described as a clash of different visions of capitalism. I've also seen it described as, look, this is a shareholder who just wants to make tweaks rather than big structural overhauls of the business. What characterization would you give?
Well, listen, they came into our share capital, and so far I would assume, given the share price performance, that they should not be unhappy to start with. But I do believe that Pernod Ricard's equity story is quite unique. And if I take a look at our reference shareholder, the SA Paul Ricard, and if I go back to 1982, when I was just 10 years of age, our market cap at the time was 300 million euros, and today it's 40 billion euros. And that's what I like to call long-term consistent value creation, investing in the right places at the right time to generate value over time.
There can't be many CEOs who remember what the share price of their company was when they were 10 years old. I mean, that goes to the heart of it, though, doesn't it? Really, does it? Is this causing big boardroom tension in a family that has talked about, as you have, long-term delivery rather than the very short term?
No, our board of directors is ruthlessly focused on consistent long-term value creation. So, for instance, right now we have a couple of commercial conflicts in Europe. It would be easy, to sign deals with these clients of ours just to boost short-term profits. We believe it's the wrong thing to do, so we're currently negotiating on the table, which is fine because it's good for the long term.
Can I ask, we're just about to hit Brexit here on March 29th. LVMH told us that they're stockpiling like 4 months worth of liquor in the UK. How am I going to get my Glenlivet and Beefeater here? And how is Anna going to get her Ricard and Ramazzotti there after March 29th? Have you made plans?
Yes, of course. We have made plans in terms of just some inventory and logistics. So hopefully we won't get there. Obviously, as many businesses, if not all the businesses, we would love to see more visibility to get better prepared. But in any case, we are prepared.
I mean, any stockpiling happening?
Right now, as we speak, yeah.
What are you stockpiling? How much? What do plans look like for a business like Pernod up against something that's fairly unprecedented?
Yes, we're just piling a few weeks worth of stock outside the UK. So basically our Scotch whiskies with Chivas, Ballantine's, the Glenlivet and Beefeater gin, of course, which is produced here in London. And vice versa, we're importing a few of our best-selling products here in the UK, like Absolute Vodka.